Hello there, my name is Saxo and today I'll be teaching you how to make soldiers like models, how you assemble them in the Attila official mod tools with either 1212 AD or vanilla. So first up let's get straight to the point. You are gonna need something called assembly kit here, which we will find in your Steam. You should very much come with the Steam installation if you bought it on Steam or anywhere. It should really much activate within the game. All you gotta do is install it. When you click launch, you are gonna see a folder pop up. You might think that nothing happens, but it actually opens up a binary folder in assembly kit Attila, and then you have the binaries here. So before you set this up, what you want to do, for say if you have mods or anything and you want modded parts, you are going to want to have the modded parts extracted. I have it all here, which is 1212 AD models, armor, helmets, swords, some custom shit, which goes in here, variant models, man, and then you have components like armor, helmet, leg, skin, texture, tops, greaves. Essentially now, once you've done this, it always goes here in variant meshes, variant models, then man, armor, and then whatever. Then you can place. So it has like categories of what things kind of mix up. Once you have extracted all the 1212 assets, you can find them pretty much all the armor. I recommend getting Rusted Pack File Manager to extract the armor, which you can do here. You should be able to get it online. Just a very good tool for total modding in general. Now, where you find the 1212 packs you subscribe to, if you need the assets, either I'll provide a link in the description of all the armor assets, or you can find them here yourself if you go to this path, Steam Apps, Common, Workshop, oh my bad, Steam Apps, Workshop, Content, and then 325610. That is the Attila game code or game ID for Steam, and these will be all the workshop folders and items. If we just search 1212 here, you see I have it all of it is here. What I highly recommend is that you open one of the packs and then you go to the same directory, search the same 1212, and then you want to open all the ones that has models in it, and just to be sure that you don't miss any assets, you want to open up the comp build as well. So this is basically everything. Might look a bit confusing, there's two folders. Essentially, you are just gonna click right extract, and then you're gonna choose a folder of your liking, and then you're gonna put it back. Once extracted, you're gonna put it inside the assembly kit folder, which I'll also probably show. Okay. Now we're back on the assembly kit folder. We will have to run it like so. So we go to assembly kit binaries, and then this one called tweak assembly kit is the one you're gonna run. Next up, you're gonna click tools and VariantEditor. It's gonna give me an error or two. That's completely self-made and it's my fault, but it's still gonna work. It has to do with something a bit complicated, but normally it shouldn't give you errors, so just ignore this. Now we are inside the VariantEditor kit, where we have all the base things of Attila vanilla stuff and 1212 assets on the side. What you're gonna do is you're gonna either load definition or load uniform. So there's a bit of backstory to how it works. I'm just gonna load this guy up here. Now, this is one of the main default Attila units. We can have an animation for him. There is a lot of animation to test. to see if everything is working correctly, and rigs, and if anything is placed correctly, stuff like this. Very helpful. So basically we have the base, and then we have the components, so skin, hair, props, helmets. And essentially, if I delete a part here, naturally it's going to delete the skin from the character, because that is a separate part which we can then add like this. Again, we can add it back, just I think it was Germanic skin or something. So some parts are cut to fit to each other, while some others don't exactly fit to each other. Like there's some skin parts with full arms that is gonna clip with the tunic part here, or the armor. So it's pretty important they match together, and you can pretty much test around trying to find fits, or they have the same name if they fit together. Now, what you see here is external variant mesh definitions. This means that it's going to choose within the unit. There's like 3 different helmets here, which means it's going to choose one of those 3 by random for each soldier. And that's how the variant editor works. Normally you would be able to put even more in here, so it's like a big branch. So you got like, for 12 you could have like kettle helmets and then have a lot of them. Then you could have an own category called salads, have a bunch of salads, and then last. So it basically switches between the assets you see here, and depending on how many. It's a bit hard to get the structure of it, but you will learn. And this is the clothing, which consists of different parts of colors. As you can see, it's going to switch between, and we can add a mask even. Some armor sets have this plus where you can add a mask and then paint it whatever color you want. So now I'm gonna explain this in 12.12 models. So I'm gonna load a template, and the thing is 12.12 is more assets composed of way more assets than vanilla. You see it only has like 10 slots here. 12.12 models need a bit more, so I will provide this as well for you. Normally I would recommend just using one of the base Total War Attila 12.12 models, which you can find inside the working data once you've extracted them. So I'm gonna go with some burgundy troops here. I'm gonna take this Dismounted Nobles. I think I made this a while ago. Maybe not. Here we have the man. This is a composition of armor, in which you have 2 bases. Gonna switch between this one and the one without the feather. I don't know why there's 2, but let's see. So we got helmets. Then it extracts, or basically extends out to a big branch, because there's space for more assets on the 12.12 models. Now we've got a kettle helmet, a salad. This is a Frank salad. Another Frank salad, and an Italian armée. So what you can do in here is that you can see what each is consisting of. So we have the visor raised. This is an individual part of this specific helmet. You can also delete it here. Can add like different helmets. It's gonna switch between these 2 and then the ones above. So it will switch between the ones I have here. Normally there is like a limit, which I've yet to figure out why it doesn't show some of the armor. But it does sometimes, and I need to study it closer. So essentially it's pretty much just dress up from this point. So I'm gonna load a template I made of a character. As you can see, I'm gonna load this one. We are gonna make a Gothic Knight. So what we're gonna do is make sure these are all extended like this. Now, by the time with the 12.12 assets, you'll learn to see by memory which fit together depending on how long you use them. I can also provide an answer since I've used it a lot, but these new assets they updated, they should fit pretty much together. So we have the salad. Should be, you just click delete to delete an armor part. You click on it and then click the delete key to remove it, or you can right click, remove. What you want to do is we are going to grab the salad, then we're going to grab a visor, a high one and a low one. So this means it's going to switch between these two when the soldier loads. Some are gonna have open, some are gonna have closed. And if I want an open visor, there's various ways around it. I made a blank armor piece that acts as like an invisible parts, so you can just have them without the visor. I'll provide that as well. Now, for the clothing, we're going to go with the Gothic armor. So we have a bit of, so we gotta search. There's a tons of armor just to tell you. There's so much armor from 1212, so you're gonna need to learn them or test your way, because some obviously doesn't fit. A lot of them doesn't fit, in fact. So, for example, if we take the new 14th century German mail arms, I can find them here. So this is not gonna fit on like a brigandine, for example. Then you need parts of it to be cut. So I'm gonna show an example here. I know pretty much. So this, if I put up this on this, it's gonna clip through, as you see. So what you're gonna need is that you need to either make or make it fit. So I, for example, make this where I cut out the parts in VariantEditor, the vertices, to make it fit and it doesn't clip with the animations. So let's try again. You see, it's going to fit a lot nicer now. Even with the animations, it's not too buggy. Maybe a little bit there, but not that bad. Then you have the mask, of course. So when they have a mask, they're gonna have this color or the faction color by default, where you can add your own various colors here. So now it's gonna switch between, if I do these colors like black, red, blue, or purple, it's gonna switch between these three. So that's the masks. Not all armor assets have masks, but if they have mask in the name, they should have it. Some does have it without the mask in the name. Okay. Now you can see there is a slight issue on his neck. He might need a collar or a male standard. So we are gonna find a neck coif like this. I'll just take this one. But we're not making a footman, we're making a Gothic knight. So I'm gonna delete the brigandine again. My apologies, but the footage when I was assembling the soldier didn't record, so I'm gonna have to do it again. Which is so let's do it one by one again. Where was I? With armor, we have to make sure it fits. So as I showed previously in the previous clip, it didn't fit together with say the brigandine and then the mail I showed you, but the part I showed you before, being the kind of Akiton or Dupont or whatever you want to call it, Gambison beneath the brigandine, that fit perfectly because it was cut out specifically. Another example is if we take a coat of plates. I know this one has a male part for it, so this is a English coat of plates, and then we can search for coat of plates. This means it's likely going to have a cut part, which should work. For coat of plates, I'm just looking here. Normally there is but there's a part that's specifically cut for each piece of armor to not have like floating parts, and and the other essential things. And I will provide you another example when we're assembling this knight. So Gothic, I'm gonna have to use the new assets because they're very, very fine made. Congrats to the 1212 for making those. Now, you see I cannot just add a piece of arm harness here if I want. That's not possible because, well, it is possible, but it's not gonna look good because it doesn't have anything inside here like a mass. Or what we can do about that is we can take something called shoulder mail, which pretty much fills it up better to visually, and then we can have pauldrons to make his armor complete. There we go. Okay, have the iconic Gothic rondels on the far front of the plating, being these two discs they would usually have on the Gothic armor. Now we almost have his top torso. I'm gonna add like a piece of gauntlets to him and explain in the meantime of doing it. So what I'm gonna do here is gonna choose some Gothic gauntlets. You see, there is might be a slight issue on how they fit with the arm. There's not. Sometimes the armor clips out or the shape is not correctly. There's a tiny bit there maybe. I'm not sure. No, it fits. So yeah, as long as things fit together, it's gonna look good. But some things, just to mention, some things that are not meant to fit together, does fit together, surprisingly. I know it sounds a bit confusing. I will provide a new example in my variant editor if I can after this. Okay, now he's nearly done. We just need a leg harness and some tassets, and the new Gothic leg harness they made looks way better, so we're gonna have to use this. But the problem here is there is nothing in here. As you can see, they made individual pants like this to fit with it. You can see they're meant to fit together just like butter. Okay, tassets. Now tassets, please keep in mind this armor is not it might not be an entirely historical composition of armor pieces and styles. It's just a test here to showcase it. I know there might be some people who say that, for example, this shoulder, this spoiler didn't exist on this specific piece of plate, or these tassets didn't exist on the specific plate or gauntlets whatsoever. So just to clarify, it's just a test that I'm showing you. Now for the belt, he's gonna need to have a belt to make it look pretty nice, and the belt is meant to like hold the breastplate and folds, or what do you call this, placard together, so these two pieces of armor. Now he's nearly done, almost. Just a dagger is all he needs, a fine decoration piece, and then a scabbard maybe. If we want more scabbards, we can have a few variants made by the 1212 team again. Here he is. He's looking good. Oh, I just forgot he's missing a bever. An iconic piece and my favorite helmet, Sallet, which is it's a pretty cool historical piece of armor that folds up in front of the chin, which looks, I don't know, I think it looks sweet. So here he pretty much is done. Now he has a variant with an open bever and a closed one, and he has a variant, so this means it will switch between this and then it will switch between this one while combining the two, if that makes sense. So some of them can have an open bever and open sallet, some of them can have an closed bever and open sallet, some of them can have a closed sallet up like up here and open bever instead. So that is pretty much how the variants work. Now, these weapons we are gonna give him, I did not make any of them from scratch. They're all courtesy of the 1212 developers and teams. I just mixed parts together to make more variants of weapons. So I'm gonna give a few examples of how that could be done as well in Asset Editor in the next part. But first, this is or understanding Asset Editor, but this is just a showcase. So I'm gonna make it a German. So I have an axe I pretty much made out of 2 pole axes, or 1. Should be here somewhere. There it is. Gothic single-handed axe. So essentially, not too clear you can see this, but this is a pole axe that I resized in Asset Editor and imported as its own asset into the editor and in-game as well. You can see it, and you can import assets as crazy as you want. If you have 3 days max, then you can import your own assets. I mostly use theirs and kit bash parts together. So now he's gonna have a variant of weapon. He might have this axe, and then he's have another variant I made with a spike, a little bit flatter one, and a warhammer. There's a specific limit, so some of them will not load in, or they will have the other weapons instead, because there is a limit sometimes. But here he is, essentially. Now, the fun part is, if you want to avoid limits, you can make something called a definition of armor, or whatever you want. So I'm gonna take a helmet, for example. One of my favorite helmets. My favorite helmet is the Frank Salad, which is a pretty cool looking French style salad, or I'm not sure what it's called, historical. And this has quite a lot of customization to it. So if we do it like this, we should be able to have closed visor on it, maybe an open one again. I just need to find it. Frank Salad. Oh, raised visors. Okay, there it is. Now it's look like this on the soldier, and he's gonna switch between these assets at random. All composed, of course. So there is not a salad that's not gonna have a visor because I attached it like this. So this is the first one. Then we can add here. We can add empty mesh, and then we can do one with the side rundles on, which is a pretty cool disc looking thing you can have on the helmets. They can be gilded, they can be not that. So just like this. Now we can save this as a inside helmet. It goes, of course, so we can save it as just Frank Salad test, which is going to go here. Assembly kit. We restart the assembly kit again. Tweak. So you need to restart every time you make a new variant, basically, or variant mesh definition, to be able to change it again when you save a new thing. So first up, it's gonna load again and give me the usual errors. Ignore it. Now you see it's there, Frank Salad test. Now I'm going to load up our Gothic Knight. I'm gonna expand all. This might look a bit confusing again. I'm gonna delete the helmets of him and his bevers. Oh, he's gonna keep his bevers, but helmets, and then Frank Salad test. We're gonna find it here, Frank Salad test. So this is essentially, this is one asset composed into two, or composed into one. There's two assets composed into one. So we got a variant here, and then a variant here, and then you can see the individual parts like this, meaning the variant will switch between these. But if I load him in the game now, since I didn't add this one called Frank Solid Test, this definition into the pack file of my mod or game or vanilla or whatever, he is not going to have it. The game's not going to load the asset because it's essentially not existing until I add it. So it's going to be empty, which is very important why you add the parts into the pack files that you made custom, or if they're not in the game already. So if I didn't have 1212 installed already and I wanted these assets, I would need to find each texture and then the helmet and everything, the models, rigid models, anything, and compose it into a pack. So that's basically how the variant editor works. That's the basic of it, at least, and how you design soldiers. Just another example before I go, or before I leave you to it. We can go and look at my burgundy reskins. I have a bit of like this. He has a few different torsos. You can see I made a custom variant mesh definition which composes of these various torsos for burgundy specifically. Each of these arrows is like a tree with its own parts on it. So here we got coiters, jack chains for the arms, and a brigandine. And here we've got a Pastrana brigandine with a bunch of shoulders and full plate arms. Here is a brigandine with mail. It's a halberd, a bunch of halberds. Here's a infantry breastplate. And here is a Burgundian, essentially tabard. So you can see it composes of like a tree of assets, basically. So that's is sort of just how simple it is when you kind of understand it. I know when I first got into this, it also looked very confusing. It's a bit more confusing actually getting the soldier into the game, but I should be able to show you that as well in another video. Right now the most important thing is that you understand, and I hope you do, or at least caught up some keywords and basics of the program. My next video will be on the asset editor and how to, for a starter, mix your own 1212 assets or vanilla assets and import them into this editor and potentially the game, and then we're gonna test if that works. So peace.